Hey, what's going on, YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here, Nile Scala, with my good pal, my amigo, my compadre, Mr. Billy Tucci. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing pretty great today, buddy. I'm feeling better. Sorry about yesterday, but that was an adventure. I think we're going to make a whole video on that. Picking out paint with the wife.
Going to wrestling and then picking out paint with the wife. A family adventure.
You wonder why they even ask you to come, you know what I mean, along with you. Because she's like, well, what do you think? I'm like, well, I don't like that. I like this. And then she'll argue with me over what I picked.
Well, that's why you're there, because you're there to reinforce what they don't like, because you know you're going to like what they don't like. So that's why you go.
Exactly.
And you can drive, and you're going to buy dinner, and you're going to do all that other stuff, right?
Exactly. So that's what we did. We ended up going to Moe's. You have Moe's by you?
Yeah, we've got Moe's.
Yeah, so we went to Moe's afterwards, and it was all good afterwards. But, you know, enough about me. How are you real quick?
I'm doing good, my friend. I'm excited. We're one episode away of 100. Tonight is our 99th episode, and you know, I'm excited. You know, we've got two of the finest in the industry on tonight. Everyone is excited about this, so I'm really looking forward to this one. And their campaign's killing it right now on Kickstarter. They've
gotten a little over a week. They've got 646 backers, and they're already over $51,000 for the Witchblade hardcover Volume 1. Yes. Collecting all the first, I guess, 12 issues or so of Witchblade. I'm not quite sure. I'll double check that. But without further ado, Nile, should we introduce our 27-year veteran of the comics industry?
Yes, please do. Let's introduce
coolest guys you'll ever meet. My great friend, the one, the only, Mr. Matt Hawkins. Matt, are you there?
Matt Hawkins and Mark Silvestri.
And Mark Silvestri.
Hey, welcome, fellas.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark's on. Hey, Mark.
Look at that
Who's
surprise.
this Tucci guy?
What's up, man?
He's an up-and-comer.
Oh, my God, he is. I hear he's on the list of the hot young Turk.
Yeah, I'm one of the new guys. I'm one of the new bloods. You better
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I misread that. It's hot young jerks. That's right. That's the Billy one.
Yeah.
What's up, you guys?
We're millennials.
We're doing well. Yeah, it's a bunch of millennials. There you go.
We're a bunch of millennials. And Nile, the Gen X.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. You got to be kidding me, man.
Guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. You know, we're really excited to have you guys on. As you know, we love the whole crowdfunding scene, and you know, we were so happy to see Witchblade hit Kickstarter.
Yeah, and we're a huge fan of you guys. You know that, and I was proudly the #1 backer. It posted up. On my doing that, man. It was live. I'm like, oh my God, I need that.
You're the best, dude. You really are.
I posted, said, congratulations, you're the first backer. I was like,
that's it.
I know. I was like, shit, where am I? I got to like 21. I'm like,
yeah, beat your ass. But yeah. Mark and Matt, you guys have you're a little over a week in the campaign, and you already got 640. You almost got 650 backers, and you guys are already blown away the $51,000 mark, blown past it. Up your $10,000 original goal, so you're already doing 5 times better. You know, 5 times over your goal, and you've got 18 days to go. Congratulations!
Oh, thanks, man, and thank you to everyone who's been pledging, and thank you to everyone who's been checking it out. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate the Witchblade love, and as Billy knows, we go all the way back to Witchblade.
Yeah,
me and him, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I just want to thank everybody, and I thank you guys too for putting this show on. This is pretty cool.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, it's our pleasure. You know, we just love, you know, there's so much stuff, and you guys will see if you listen to podcasts, or you watch YouTube shows. There's a lot of negativity and stuff like that, and people, you know, what's the latest controversy, and they'll talk about that. And we just want to talk about the positivity of comics, you know, and entertainment, and have fun. And we've had some great guests. We've had some Golden Age guys. We've had a lot of Silver Age guys. We've had, you know, big names, smaller names, young people who just maybe their first project. That haven't been doing this for 5 years, like you and I, Mark, you know, and it's just been great going through the vast spectrum and meeting so many new creators and how they crowdfund their own campaigns, and then of course, you know, talking about getting into the mainstream too, and it's just a great way for independents, you know, for indie books to come out, and it's unlike you guys, because you know this is all like making outlaw comics, and you guys were the original outlaws, Mark. You and your Image guys, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know, it's like and I'm going to put you straight in those crosshairs too, because when the Image guys struck and we struck pretty big. Obviously, that history is all there, but we had the safety in numbers. And I remember this one thing about you when our mutual friend introduced us.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, this is a guy that's doing it on his own, right? This is a guy who's making these waves, who's being the independent by himself without the support that I had of my partners. If I was having a problem, all I had to do was get on the phone with somebody and say, you know, my partner's Todd McFarlane, right?
Yeah.
And the problem was solved right there. It was solved.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's it. But you, dude, all the props to you. You had no safety net. So, man, come on.
Yeah, I think I might have been too dumb to notice, you know? I mean, I had Brian Polito. Brian and I did it. We started together. But then again, Matt and I were talking, and you too, Mark. You guys were among the first people I met. And I met Matt before. I met Matt at the Chicago Con in 1994. And I think our booths were near each other. And Matt came over and introduced himself. And, you know, my wife, Debbie, and I, we didn't know anybody. That was our first convention. And I mean, the book had only come out a few months before. And you know, Matt, you were so nice. And then I met you, Mark, at San Diego, and we through our buddy. And, you know, we got to hang out, and you were so nice. And I actually used that because, you know, if I ever had some problems, like, do you know I'm friends with Mark Silvestri?
Does that get you a burger somewhere? It gets you a burger, right? You still got to pay for the fries.
Yeah, but you're also a big guy, too, so I could be like, you know, Mark Silvestri will be pissed off at you.
I'm also 60 years old.
Yeah,
so.
I appreciate you guys bringing us in and making us feel welcome. And it was really great, you know, coming in these wide-eyed two, you know, kids from Long Island. We didn't know what we were doing. And you guys made it real easy. Then you introduced me to Jim. And then I met Todd, of course, and Rob and everybody like that, and Jim V. And it was just a great experience. And I really appreciate the fun we had with crossovers and stuff. And you guys were just great. You guys just took me in under your wing. And I really appreciate that. I'll never forget that.
Oh, man, it goes back to you as well. So it's been a long, great friendship, and I appreciate that. So thanks.
Absolutely. And now you guys are killing it now. And I know, Mark, you can't be on too long, but I don't know if you want to talk about, you know, we'll get into the book. We'll talk about the whole Witchblade thing. And the question I have is how did it start? I mean, I know you had Cyberforce, you had Cyblade, we did the book. And then we were talking about introducing new characters in the crossover we had done, the Cyblade She crossover in 95. And then you're like, I got a character. Now, can you tell us a little bit about Witchblade and her origin and how she started and all that? And
well, I mean, you were one of the guys that kind of pioneered the standalone female lead character that actually worked, right? Like Marvel and DC had been trying to do that for a long time, and nobody was really buying into it. And then this guy, Billy Tucci, comes along with this character named She and going, there's more than a ripple happening here. There's some actual waves hitting the shore. And we were looking, obviously, back in the day, and still today, this is what we do, right? It's all about creating new, exciting stuff. And we were thinking about doing something with you, because obviously we had the whole independent thing in common.
Yeah.
We had met, right? And liked you a lot, obviously. And everyone who had interacted with you that I knew had nothing but positive to say. It's like, okay, this is a guy we could be in business with. And we had this new punk ass kid named Michael Turner, right? Just like showing basically everybody how it's done, right? And we were kind of looking for a project for him specifically to latch onto. And I remember Brian Haberlin came up into my office and said, hey, you know, because we put it out there within Top Cow. It's like, you know, we'd love to have a female lead character and really make it work. And he said, well, you know, how about something based on old Arthurian legend? You know, the sword and the stone, Excalibur. And that's how the genesis started of what this character could be. And that quickly went into what the Witchblade became. It was basically Excalibur, you know, with a female wielder who was destined to do these great things. And, you know, we went from there. You know, we started putting it together, and David Wohl, and we brought Mike in to start with the development early. And, you know, obviously the initial appearance of Witchblade in Cyblade She looked much different than what she wound up to be. But we kind of like cobbled her together for that. Just like, okay, we just want to introduce this really cool character and this really cool crossover that we're doing with Billy, and then do something with her after that. You know, so it's like the Cyblade She crossover was a great opportunity for us to not only share creative stuff with you, a guy that we respected, but also it'd be an awesome launching pad for this great new idea that we have. You know, it's like, let's do it. So that's kind of where that came from. But for us internally, you know, it was, you know, the guys just getting together and going, you know, we've got this amazing artist and we have this really cool idea. Let's get it out there. You know, Billy Tucci's already shown that people are ready for a strong female lead character in a comic book. So you kind of blazed that trail a little bit for us.
Well, there was maybe a couple others. Like I said, Brian and I, you know, and Brian Polito, you know, the Vampirella books were out. But what I loved about the character too is that it was that you made it specifically. You could tell that it was created as a female character because like only the Witchblade works on a female.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool because even at that time, right? I mean, right? That's the truth, right? It only could have a female host, right?
Yeah.
And so you already immediately painted yourself in a corner then, because what if, like I said, it was a fad? What if it didn't take off? You couldn't then make a Witchblade, you know, Howard, you know, some dude named Howard or something like that.
Howard Blade, Howblade.
Yeah. But that was great how you just went forward and it just blew up. Yeah, and Nile, I don't know if you remember, I know Matt, you do. And that book just exploded with that cover, you know, that we use on the promos and all too, and it's on the cover for the Kickstarter, and you just saw it with her eyes and how what Mike drew, and again he had this fresh look. It looked like no one else's stuff. I mean, he was obviously heavily influenced by you, but I mean, just look at that.
No, it's amazing.
Just gorgeous. I remember that she was in that red outfit in the very opening scene, right? And people like, holy crap, man. It was like,
what is this? This is awesome. But I think the key, and the same with you, is that the thing that we realized, that you realized as well, was that the character can look this way, the character can look that way, the power can be this, the power can be that, but it's all about, in our case, Sarah, right? It's about the person. It's about who she is, and it's about her character as a character, right? And that was the key for everything. Then you slather on all the cool stuff on top of that. But from day one, we concentrated on who she was and who she is as a person. Because then you can have all kinds of fun beyond that, right? You know how that is. So, it's like now we're celebrating 25 years, right? That's crazy.
It really is.
TV show, a cartoon, toys, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I know. And now you're moving in with the Kickstarter. I mean, what is there anything in store for Witchblade that you guys are allowed to talk about, you know, moving forward? Matt,
you go ahead, because I say too much all the time.
Well, I just, you know, this is the 25th anniversary year for Witchblade. So we have a lot of stuff going on. Some stuff we haven't announced yet, so we can't quite get into it. But the Kickstarter was the first sort of foray into a bunch of stuff we're going to be doing with Witchblade that'll sort of affect that character in the Top Cow universe for years to come.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, go ahead, Billy.
Are you guys going to have any kind of convention specials? Any anniversary convention specials or anything like that?
Yeah, one thing we are doing is we're doing a reprint version of the original #1 intact with all the original ads and everything. That's going to be a 25th anniversary reprint. We're going to do an updated version of the original cover, and there will be a convention edition. One of the stretch goals, the last stretch goal we've announced so far, is that when we hit 60,000, and I think we will, that everyone will get an exclusive Kickstarter version of that available. But we're also going to do multiple different versions of that, some available for conventions. We're going to solicit some through the direct market, and we'll have multiple versions to really get out there and celebrate, because it really is a landmark series. You know, I mean, you look at you look at Wonder Woman, and then there's, like you said, She and Lady Death and Witchblade, you know, it's funny. Mark and I, one of Mark and I's first conversations before we worked together was when I was actually trying to steal Mike Turner when I worked for Rob Liefeld.
This is no BS, by the way.
Yeah, this is true. Like, no, I've worked with Mark. I've worked for Mark now for 22 years, but before that, I worked for Rob Liefeld, and we actually were actively trying to pursue Mike Turner to do the book Evangeline. I don't know if you remember Evangeline.
I do, of course.
Yeah, we wanted Mike Turner to draw that book, and I was calling him on a regular basis. And funniest story is, I remember one day I called Mike, and were you in like a meeting or something with him, Mark? Yeah. And Mike picked up the phone and said, "Hold on for a second," and then he handed the phone to Mark, and Mark started yelling at me. And I did not talk to Mark again for years, and then until the first day I worked at Top Cow, and then he's like, It's funny that you're here.
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing you said to me. It's funny that you're here.
No, the first thing I said, we passed each other in the hallway, and I just looked at you and said, "Well, isn't this ironic?" Yeah, okay.
Very funny. 22 years later, still here, man.
Yeah, but WITCHBLADE celebrating 25 years. We thought this would be a great opportunity, and as you guys know, with this podcast, crowdfunding has become like a real thing. Right? Yeah. We kind of dipped our toe into this a while back with Cyberforce before it became really common. And I mean, that was unknown territory for us, you know, and we had a pretty big response to that, which we were like shocked about. And I think a lot of people were shocked by that. Mm-hmm. But it's a legitimate thing. It's a legitimate way for people to get their content out there into the hands of people that want it, you know, and that maybe otherwise they couldn't get it. So, you know, thank you for putting on a show like this and getting awareness out there for everyone that uses crowdfunding, because I think it's viable. It's beyond viable, and I think it's an important tool for people. Yeah, you know, especially for all those creators. Yeah, and Brian, like your buddy Brian, and my buddy too. I think Brian is just an awesome guy, and talk about a warrior. Yeah, you know, that guy's been in the trenches for years and years, and he's like a super smart guy. Yeah, and he knows how everything works. Right. Mm-hmm. And you know, my hats are off to him too. Like, how long has Lady Death been around?
Same thing, 26 years, like with she. 94 came out, early 94.
Right. And he's been rocking it ever since.
Yep.
You know, and it's still like valid, and everyone knows who it is. My wife was dressed up as Lady Death for Halloween when we first got together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Awesome. No, she was. I have some pictures of it. And it was pretty amazing. It was in Las Vegas, and she was Lady Death. And we're walking through the casino to get to this giant, enormous 10,000 people party. And it took us an hour to get from the front door to the party because people kept stopping her. You know, and I mean, she looked like Lady Death. Like she had wig and all that.
Yes. That's so funny, Mark. I never knew that. I never heard that story. I didn't know she was dressed as Lady Death.
Yeah, I have some photos of it, right? And it's like, it wasn't even awkward. Like, it's not even my character. You know, it's like this Brian guy. You know, you're promoting his stuff. But she looked awesome. She had the white contacts and everything. She went all the way.
So cool.
Wow, killer! The sword and everything.
And Brian,
she didn't have the sword. I didn't want to get into an argument with her later that night and have to pay for it with the sword.
Especially like that. When it's like
all weapons were off limits. So.
Well, you know what's really cool? What's really cool about you guys going in and, you know, doing another Kickstarter and stuff is, you know, and we've learned this, and that's another reason why we kind of want to develop this show is, you know, a backer takes it personally. You know, they get to go in and literally pick a level of how intimate they want to get with your project. You know, if they want autographs, if they want original art, and you know, by doing the show, you know, we like to bring a little piece of the creators to them where they can ask a question or just sit and enjoy. And, you know, it's really cool. I got such good feedback when people saw this campaign and they were like, oh my gosh, I remember that when that book came out. It's so cool that it's on Kickstarter, and it's like, it's great. And you know, everyone's just talking about like, you know, it's personal to me again. And it was just such a great outreach that we received through all of our private messaging and stuff. Yeah. So
that's a good point that you bring up, is that this kind of crowdfunding is very personal. Yeah. And everyone does get to claim a little piece of, I made this happen. When we did the Cyberforce thing, that was a really big deal. It's like everyone made it happen, right? Yeah. And this is the same way. It's like everyone gets that little piece of it, you know. And it's like it's this feeling of community that, you know, and like Billy, you mentioned at the beginning, you know, there's so much negativity out there, but there's also way more positivity about what comics are and what comics can bring to people. And you and I, we've been in the trenches for a million years. We've seen the whole arc of the world not giving a damn about anything that was not Batman or Superman.
Yep.
You know, and suddenly now comics they own entertainment, basically. Yeah. You know, we've seen it. They've seen the change, and it's like now with things like crowdfunding, it's even more intimate. Now everyone can kind of claim that we're helping make this happen. You know, we're the hardcore fans that love comics, and we're helping again get comics out into people's hands that don't normally maybe get them, you know, or the idea of what a comic could be. So I think it's been great, and I love that aspect, like you mentioned, that people feel like they're a part of the team. Yeah, because they are.
Now, how did it feel? Now, you know, you develop these characters, you create it, you put out so many issues. Maybe you walk away, something else comes, you do other projects. and then maybe you may get even a little tired of working on the same character. I know that happened with me with She. You get a little burnt out, doing the same character for 10 years, 15 years or so. And then you kind of, what's so cool about it, and I see with the response to the Witchblade book right now, you even got another backer or two. You guys are going way up. Is that the people waiting for you? People waiting for this book.
Right.
You know what I mean? Isn't that cool? Like, oh my God, I walked away, but they never did. And I don't know. Don't you get that feeling like, wow, they really want more of this character. They've been asking for it, and they show it with the levels, and they show you with their passion. And then what's cool is not only do they pledge, then they share it with their friends on social media and fandom and things like that.
Yeah, we're all on the same team. And I tell this to people when I meet them at conventions. I say, look, here's the deal. You keep buying what we do, we can keep giving you what you buy. Right? Yeah. We're in this together, right? All of us. We all love what we do, either as consumers or creators or both. In most of our cases, we buy comics and we make comics. So and it's a wonderful feeling of community. So you hit the nail on the head with that. Absolutely. And look, your Kickstarter and your social crowdfunding goes through the roof every time. You just had some great success too.
And it gets bigger and bigger, it seems. Like the more you do, you get them out. You got to get that books out. That's the thing, guys. Out there, for anyone out there who wants to do it, you got to get your books out. Because the quicker you get your book out, the next you could launch your next one. And all those people that supported you on the first one will come back and support you even more, with even more vigor.
And it's important.
You seem to keep going up every time you do it.
Plus, it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah,
it's true. I don't know who came up with the idea of stretch goals, but whoever came up with the idea of stretch goals was a genius, because when I've watched those and we've used them, and like today I had this guy IMing me nonstop about, hey, we really got to get to that 60,000 goal because I need that book, and I'm like, it's just so weird because I'm like, wow, okay, it's just such a cool idea. I don't know who came up with the idea of stretch goals, but they work really well.
Take credit for that if you want. Go for it.
Yeah,
it wasn't me. It was not me.
Hey, they're great motivating factors, man.
Or Brian.
Well, the cool thing too is that with the stretch goals, that the bigger your project gets, the more exposure it gets too.
Yeah.
On the platforms. But it's also a great way for us to compete with the big guys. I mean, Mark, look what Marvel and DC are doing. They make people, whether right or wrong, they make retailers order so many comics just to get, say, that special Mark Silvestri cover. You know what I mean? Or Jim Lee cover or something like that. So they have to order all these copies of Batman, say, to get that specific cover. And then 2-3 months later, they still have 50, 60 Batmans on it. But by the time they come to, say, us, go from D to I, and, DC's huge on say, with previews and stuff. They don't really have that money maybe to support some of the Image titles. And you guys are kicking ass with Image, which is great. But what I love about this with doing the crowdfunding is that it gives us a way to compete. And the cool thing is now then you can go to Diamond, you can go to the retailers, you could say, listen, I can give my comic a guaranteed ship date because it's already done. You've already funded that book and we're able to print it and publish it through the crowdfunding platform.
Yeah, that's critical.
Yep.
It really is. When this happens, you're making a deal, right?
Yeah.
And you got to hold up your end of the deal.
Yep.
And you got to hold up your end of the deal with a really good, I hate to use the term product, but it has to be good, right?
Yeah.
You just can't take someone's money and say, oh, and take this and like it. It has to be worth everyone's time and everyone's effort. And again, everyone's your partner now in getting these things done. You got to take care of your partners, right?
Absolutely.
So with us, it's like we believe in the Witchblade hardcover because a lot of people have been asking, when are you guys going to reprint this stuff? It's like, and this is a great way for people to jump on board, either as pure nostalgia and just wanting to complete their collections, or people have never seen it before. And like Matt said, there's certain things we can't really talk about yet, but all this ties in really well to some plans that we have that we can hopefully announce relatively soon. But this is also, let me just say, this is a good way for people to kind of jump on the Witchblade bandwagon without saying anything more.
Right. It's a great introduction. I mean, what better introduction to the character than in this prestige format hardcover?
Yeah.
And now another question I have, and people have been asking us: have you considered an Indiegogo campaign for the book after this Kickstarter, because with my experience, we did Kickstarters first, and we really, because that was just the easy thing. That's what everyone was doing. So we decided to do a Kickstarter. Then, and this is the second project in a row now that we followed the Kickstarter immediately with an Indiegogo. And Mark, our Indiegogo numbers are bigger than the Kickstarter numbers.
Really?
And I don't know,
that's
Matt,
pretty impressive
about that. I mean, right now, like with the She Kickstarter, we did in the 3-week campaign we did for the She book, because we only did it 3 weeks. We did 70,000, a little over 70,000 on Kickstarter. On Indiegogo, we did it. We launched Indiegogo afterwards, and we're at 73,000 now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Without a lot of the big perks, a lot of the original art, things like that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's something that we're definitely open to discuss. I mean, we've seen your success with that.
Yeah,
and we were talking about that just recently. As a matter of fact, it's quite the juggling act that you do. It's like those are more props to you.
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
it's
cool.
a lot of work.
Hey, we're new at this stuff.
I know. I hear you, buddy. Yeah, I hear you.
Hey, I've been watching the live comments, and there were a couple questions that I wanted to answer. Just FYI, a couple people asked, what was the page count? The page count is 624 pages, so it is a large hardcover. Wow. It includes Witchblade 1 to 19, Darkness 9 and 10, and Tales of the Witchblade 1/2, 1, 2, and 3. Those are the issues that are included.
600 what pages?
624 pages. So it's about the same size as the Aphrodite hardcover we did.
So it's like an ash can.
Yeah, it's real small. No, it's going to be
one that you can kill people with.
I think I have the Aphrodite hardcover here. I'll show you. It's about the same exact size. Let me grab it. I'll be right back.
Actually, there's if you don't mind, we just got a super chat from Brian Blevins. He just asked, after image titles split off into their own companies like Top Cow did, was there any properties you wanted to or tried to buy for Top Cow with story?
With wait, what was that? When
were there any other properties you were trying? Well, basically, when you broke off, you started Top Cow. If there was any other properties you were looking to bring over to your publishing company?
Well, I mean, Top Cow and Image were always the same. Right?
Yeah.
So in case people weren't clear on that, like Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee and all that, when we formed Image, we all formed our own companies at the same time. So I think for the most part, for a long time, I don't recall us taking on outside ideas or outside IP. I guess that's the question. Are we currently looking for outside IP? Is that the question?
I think it was when you branched off, if there was ones you wanted to.
Oh, yeah. Well, we never really branched off.
Yeah.
We left Image briefly, but then we came right back. But I mean, we were always a content creator. And we've always welcomed creators coming in to work with us. Yeah. But I don't recall. I could be wrong because I'm old now and my memory isn't what it used to be. And it was a few 100 decades ago. Yeah. But I think for the most part we were doing mostly internal development on such. There might be one or two examples of things that we went from outside. I think more of that came in later. Right. But like with Mark Miller, we had an outside deal with him for Wanted, and obviously that worked out pretty well for everybody involved.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so yeah, I think I don't know if that answered the question or not, but
I think that answered Brian's question.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah. And Matt, you got that book?
Yeah, I do. Here's the Aphrodite 9 hardcover. The Witchblade is almost the same page count. It's actually I think a 28-page signature thicker than this, so you can see kind of the thickness of the book, and it's the same size. Yeah. So it is but it has a exclusive Kickstarter dust jacket. So, but this is sort of the size. This is one we did a few years ago. So you can kind of see the quality. It's the same printer we're using, and the binding is super strong. So there's no chance that the pages will all fall out. So
I am so glad right now that a page didn't just fall out.
Right? I know. That would have been bad, right?
And then so the cover
guys,
now, this is the only one I have, so I know I've flipped through it before.
See this dude right here?
Yeah.
That's Monkey.
Hey, Monkey.
That's Monkey. Now Monkey is a diabetic, so I need to give him his insulin shot. So I'm going to have to bug out.
All right.
So, and by the way, anyone who's a dog owner out there, and if you ever get your dog who gets sick and he gets diabetes, it's not a call for alarm that you're going to lose your pet. He's had diabetes for 2 years now. And, the book said he's going to be blind. It's like, it's like, no way. He's as healthy as he's ever been. Just make sure you give him his shots, twice a day. That's what we do. Every day of his life, we give him 2 shots a day. So he's due for his second one.
Right.
And I'm going to have to bug out on this, you guys. But I do appreciate, again, thank you, everyone that's been pledging to this Kickstarter and all things that we do and all the fans of Top Cow. We really appreciate it. And to you guys, thanks for putting on a show like this, because I think it's really important. And I think it's great that people get exposure and people like you give everyone a platform to get it out there. And Billy, of course, you and I will be talking in the future.
Indeed.
And it's always a pleasure to be around with you, buddy. So Matt can give you all the answers you need to anything we got. He knows more about this stuff than I do. So thank you again, Mark. All the fans. Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Good to see you, Mark.
Thanks for coming, Mark.
Take care.
We appreciate it.
Bye-bye, Monkey.
Have a good night. Yeah, bye, Monkey.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
See you later. Thanks, Mark. Thanks a million for coming on. We love you, man.
My pleasure. And again, thanks to all the fans. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, Mr. President. Now that we have you front and center, let's get to the juicy stuff.
No, you're all the people watching, the numbers are going to go down now, right?
It's so funny because with our show a lot too, though, is that we go on like at prime time. So there's probably 5 or 6 other comic book podcasts or YouTube shows going on. And we always catch up, though. We always see people watching afterwards and stuff like that. But
look, I got to tell you, that's the first, I believe this is the first podcast / YouTube video Mark's ever done.
Oh, wow.
He does. That's why when you asked me about this earlier, I'm like, I'll ask him, but I don't think he's going to do it. And I was shocked when he's like, oh, I'd love to do it. Because he like, Billy, I just think he has a fondness for you.
Yeah. We've had some good times that we can't talk about. That would be a show, huh?
Well, hey, Matt, actually, the numbers are going up. For people that are in the chat that aren't familiar with you, I mean, you're the president of Top Cow Productions.
Right.
Give us a quick little bio on yourself.
Well, do you want from the beginning or just from Top Cow?
No, from the beginning.
Yeah, and then you got to tell the story how you got into comics, because it's one of the greats.
Oh, it's weird. People hate me when I tell this story, though, because everyone always assumes that people in comics are lifelong comic fans, and I never read comics. I was in college, and my nephew, who was 13 years younger than me, was a comic fan. And he's like, hey, Rob Liefeld is signing at this opening of Mile High Comics in Anaheim. And I'm like, so? He's like, can you take me? My mom won't take me. And I'm like, all right. And so I took my nephew to this signing at the grand opening of Mile High Comics in Anaheim, April of 1993. And the signing was, I think it was on a Saturday at like 2. And I got there Saturday at 2. Because I had no idea, what I mean? And so I was at the very end of this line. It's like 3 hours. And it was a different time back then. And, the crazy thing was the 3 guys right in front of me. And Billy, I don't know if you know the story, but it was Andy Park, Marla Alquiza, and Jonathan Sabal. Those 3 guys were standing in front of me in line. And they were not in comics. Not. Andy Park runs what Marvel's fucking film division now, for stuff. And so we were waiting in this line, and for 3 hours, I didn't even really like my nephew, and he's probably watching. Sorry, man, but you were kind of kid. But so for 3 hours, I was talking to these 3 guys in front of me because they were so excited about meeting Rob Liefeld, and they told me about Image Comics. I'd never heard of any of this stuff, and told me about Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee. So in 3 hours, I got an education about the industry. And I was at UCLA at the master's program. I was getting my physics degree. And, when I got to the front of this line, these 3 guys all showed Rob their artwork. I remember we went into this tent thing, and there were 10 or 12 good-looking young guys wearing black Extreme Studios jackets. It was, Eric Stevenson was one of them, and these 3 guys showed their artwork, and Rob hired all 3 of them on the spot. I was the 4th guy in that line. And I was one of the last guys in line, and and it was just sort of weird. And I tell people this all the time. I believe the universe will open doors for you. The question is whether or not you have the stones to step through it, and because I was face to face with Rob Liefeld, I just saw these 3 guys get hired. And I said, look, are you hiring for anything else? I'm not a creative. I'm not anything. And he's like, yeah, we need somebody to write press releases and do letters pages. Can you do that? I'm like, yes. And he's like, okay. And so he gave me his card. And what I did is I remember, I'll never forget this. I went to Crown Books down the street and found a book literally called How to Write a Press Release. I wrote a press release about that event that I would have sent to local media about the signing that I met him at. I faxed it to him the next day and he hired me the next day.
Wow.
That was 27 years ago, you know, and I started writing comics 3 years later, and I've written 600 or 700 books.
And that's something I remember when we first met and we had the same conversation, like, well, how did you get into this? You know, and
it's just so weird. I mean, I didn't read it.
I remember you telling me that story. I think you told me and Debbie were in the bar at the Hyatt Hotel in Chicago or something. You're like, and I remember, and you were saying, you know, they hired these guys. I'm like, hey, you know, I need a job.
Yeah, I need a job. I literally, you know, and I remember I was so close to finishing my master's degree at UCLA, and I'd been spending all this money and time trying to do that. And I remember Rob was like, why are you wasting your time with that? I'm like, you don't understand. I've been going to school for 8 fucking years. You know, I just need 3 more months. Let me finish my degree. And so I wrote my dissertation. I got, you know, passed through my thesis and got signed off. And I never did my PhD, but I don't have any regrets.
Yeah, I think you've done pretty damn well for yourself. It was Chicago, right? You're right. It wasn't San Diego, right? I think it was Chicago.
Where we met?
Yeah, we met at Chicago. And then
Probably.
we saw each other again at San Diego. Were you at Chicago?
Yeah, we used to do Wizard World Chicago at Rosemont. And, you know, I did, because I was hired on as Rob's marketing guy. And so I started doing marketing. And I don't know if you remember those stupid Bad Rock and Kodiak costumes. Remember the Youngblood Battlecruiser? Yeah. I was in one of those fucking things. And man, that thing hurt. Oh, my God. I have back problems to this day because of those stupid costumes.
That was a hell of a setup you guys put on, though.
You had a spaceship.
Yeah, we have the Youngblood Battlecruiser, which is it's now, if you go to, there's only one paintball park in Corona, California, so it's very easy to find and it's huge. And the Youngblood Battlecruiser is still there. I saw it there 6 months ago.
Really?
They have a science fiction area that Rob sold it to them, and so it's basically outdoors. It's not called the Youngblood Battlecruiser; it's just in their science fiction paintball area.
Oh, that's awesome!
Crazy! You had a spaceship at the conventions. It was insane.
Yeah. Well, you know, the crazy thing was Rob, they built it, and Greg Aronowitz, who is a very famous special effects guy now, who just recently he even worked on October Faction and he worked on Lock and Key, and he's directed and written stuff himself. He was the one I worked on Power Rangers Space Patrol Delta with. He was the showrunner for that TV show, but really, he built the Youngblood Battlecruiser. And the thing that no one ever thought about, because here's the unspoken secret of early images, none of us knew what we were doing.
Yeah,
okay, it's really obvious in hindsight. We were all really young guys. We had no idea what we were doing. So we built this Youngblood Battlecruiser, and they built it out of steel. It required an 18-wheeler truck. The thing was like 7 tons, you know, and you couldn't. I mean, it was insane because we took that thing to Wizard World Chicago, and it was like, I remember coordinating the freight. It was like $15,000 or $20,000 just to get it there round trip. It was crazy. Nutty. It was fun though. Those are fun times.
Yeah, you made it. That's for sure.
To this day, you know, the very first comic I ever wrote is still the best-selling thing I've ever done.
What was that?
Yeah.
Lady Pendragon #1.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, 700,000 copies.
Oh, yeah, those.
Can you imagine killing for that number now? You know, if I get 50,000 today, I'm like, woo, party time. You know.
Yeah, that's huge. That's what's cool about doing like your Indiegogos or your Kickstarters is because you may not hit those numbers, say, in book wise, but you could hit those numbers money wise, monetary wise.
Right.
You can. Yeah. I mean, look at like what EVS is over $1 million with his Cyberfrog. Richard Meyer's done over $1 million with his 4 campaigns, I think. Polito's killing everyone at 300,000. He does 4 of them a year.
Right.
You know,
we've done 9 campaigns. This is our 9th campaign, and 4 of them have been just me doing original graphic novels that I put up. It's like we were talking about this just before the show. The interesting thing is the nostalgia factor is huge. You know, like She has nostalgia, Lady Death has nostalgia, and Witchblade has nostalgia. you know, so you try to do something newer. It's a little harder, you know, to get people to try it. But fortunately, we all have our fan bases that follow us and read our stuff. But you know,
we have Lady Pendragon #1.
Oh yeah, Night Day. Yeah, that was the first book I ever wrote. It's nuts. I mean, I bought my first house on that, so thanks for buying it. You know.
So how many you've written? Like like 500 different comics or characters and stories?
Yeah, it's more than that now. I don't even know. Right? I mean, I like Comic Book Database has me listed at like my name is in like 6,000 books, but most of that is listed as editorial, marketing, and you know, like where I'm listed in the masthead, because I was listed in every Extreme Studios book, every Maximum Press book, every Awesome Comic book, and then I've been listed in every Top Cow book since 1998. So it's just a lot of content, and I've personally written. I actually don't know. I would say 500 or 600 books. It's mostly original stuff, you know. I don't do
you're not only running companies, you're not only and you've been I didn't realize you were at Top Cow that long. So you've been working full time running a company, and then before that you were doing the marketing for companies and stuff and writing comics at the same time.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's well, you got to do what you got to do, you know. I mean, you know, the crazy thing. Do you want to know why I started writing comics? And this is the God's honest truth. I started doing it not because I wanted to do it, because I realized I would be a cheap writer. Because I don't have to pay myself, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you know, and then in 2011, when I got divorced from my first wife, I needed some sort of creative outlet, so I started writing a book called Think Tank. And Think Tank led to another book, which led to another book, which led to another book, and suddenly I realized, wow, I've written like 200-300 books in this number of years, and I built up this fan following of people that like my hard sci-fi stuff, and it was a cool feeling. And I realized at that point that I just wanted to stay in comics for the rest of my life, because I've written for TV, I've written for film, I've produced some stuff, and the shitty part of film and TV is you work on a lot of stuff and it never comes out. You know, I mean, you do all this work and you get paid, but it just doesn't materialize. You know, and I love a comic because, you know, this is the work I did with Stephen Sage. You know, he and I did this. This is 5 years worth of my work, and I have this cool hardcover book, and I gave one to my mom, and she thought it was cool.
Yeah. And it really isn't it great though to have then someone come up to you with something you created, you know, and then ask you to sign it, and then you sign it, and then they say thank you.
Yeah.
No.
It's weird. Like, you know, it's like in comics, I always feel like we're kind of like fake celebrities, you know, because like I always feel that way because like my sons. They don't go to comic book conventions, so it's only happened. I don't know if this ever happens to you, Billy, but it's happened to me twice, and I remember both times where someone came up to me in the public and said, "Oh my God, it's Matt Hawkins," and I'm like, it was just so weird because you're used to that when you go to a comic store, or used to that when you go to San Diego Comic-Con. Like people want to take pictures with you and this, that, and the other thing, but you're not used to that when you're walking around in pavilions, you know?
Yeah, no, it happened, and I will gladly tell this story. So I was with my nephew and nieces, and it was like a MegaCon in Florida, like 1998 or something. And I said, you know, I'm going to take us all to Disney World. So I took my nephews and nieces to Disney World, probably 4 of them, I think 5 of them. And I took them all to Disney World. I remember my one niece was like, but Uncle Billy, what if someone recognizes you? I think it bother you because they go to the MegaCon. I'm like, no one's going to know who I am. And wouldn't you know, we're walking, and this kid walks up to me and goes, "Are you Billy Tucci?" And I'm
that's
like,
so funny, man.
Yes, I am Billy Tucci. Yeah, damn right.
That's awesome.
And these are my nephews and nieces.
You know what always cracked me up? And well, I was going to tell a Rob Liefeld story, but I'm not going to tell it actually. So anyway, go ahead.
Oh, you can't do that.
We'll save that for another show.
Yeah. We'll save that for another show. It's not kid friendly.
Okay. So, okay, we had a question. Kaguru said, when will the real Witchblade return? Current WB series threw the original lore out the window. Very disappointing for me. Okay, thank you. I want OG Witchblade back. Now, can you talk about, are you guys revamping Witchblade? Will she be coming back to the comic shops and everything like that? Is that?
That is something I specifically cannot discuss right now.
Well,
but there will be announcements in the next coming months, and I think the people that are asking those questions will be very happy with the answer.
Perfect.
Excellent. And then, so I kind of got a question for you. I saw a post today that you did, and you were writing, one of your books, and it was kind of emotional. What series are you working on, and can you talk about that? Because it caught my eye, and I'd like to get into what you're writing.
Well, currently the work I'm doing is a book called The Clock. I'm working with Colleen Doran, who's doing the interior art, and it's a story about the weaponization of cancer. The idea is that people start dying across the world. People start getting cancer and dying within a matter of weeks that have not been diagnosed, and they're trying to figure out how it's proliferating. And when they start plotting all the deaths on maps, it looks like a viral outbreak. And the coronavirus hitting has been great for my marketing, by the way. Thank you, China.
Bad soup.
It's true. I mean, because I've been talking about this proliferation and spread, and I gave away one of the big plot points in the solicitation because I wanted to. I mean, this is the weaponization of cancer, which no one has ever done before. So I wanted to get this story out. And it's basically about a genetic researcher who is an immunotherapist. He is going around to areas of the world with the U.S. government and the CDC, trying to figure out areas where the cancer has not proliferated and why. So they're going and taking blood samples, they're taking soil samples, they're doing all this to try to figure out why are these areas unaffected. And while he's in the Horn of Africa trying to figure out why this area is not affected, his wife dies. Like he's out of contact for 7 days. She contracts this cancer and dies. So he gets his notice that his wife has died and his 8-year-old daughter is home alone. So he comes back. And he's dealing with the fallout. When I was 17, my mom is still alive. She's 75. I'll say that up front. But when I was 17 back in 1986, I was told my mom would be dead in 6 months. She had breast cancer, and back then it wasn't as easily cured as it is now. And so my dad couldn't even tell me. He had the doctor come out and talk to me about the fact that my mother was going to die. And that just, as a 17-year-old son, it killed me, And then my mom had thyroid cancer. My mom has had four cancers, And it's just so insane. I've not had any cancer other than a little skin cancer on my face from, being outside in the sun too much. But my mom was a concert pianist who played at her church. And she also was a singer who sang in the choir and stuff like that. And because of throat cancer and because of different cancers she had, she can't play the piano. She can't sing anymore. And she's still alive, bless her heart. But she's dealing with it again. This is her 4th round. So it's one of those weird things that, and I love my mom to death. And she just dealt with the death of her last of her mom's sisters. So her mom's sister lived to be like 98, and she just died like last Sunday. So I always tell people, like, when your parents die, the unspoken thing that people don't say is that you realize that you're next.
Oh,
But that's I'm sorry, but the clock. The reason why the clock was sort of like that and personal to me is because I've had many family and friends that have died of cancer, and I wrote this, and when I started thinking about and Colleen Doran's art, she just does such great facial expressions and just emotional. Like there's this scene in there where the guy is literally, his wife has died, so he's laying in the bed looking through photo albums, and he's just bawling his eyes out because he just doesn't. He doesn't know how to deal with this, because who expects their wife to die of cancer, especially when they're not even around? What I mean? Can you imagine, Billy, you're in, you're a Luca or you're an Angoulême or one of these things, and your wife stayed home and she dies while you're gone of cancer. I mean, that's just fucked up shit, Sorry, language. So that story, writing that story, and I'm a father of 2 sons. So the idea of the lead character's daughter gets cancer in the end of the 2nd issue. He doesn't know. And again, he's been tasked by the CDC and the U.S. government as being the lead researcher to try to fix this. And he can't. He doesn't know what to do. His family's dying, and now his daughter is dying, and he's just this broken down guy that doesn't know what to do. And it's an emotional story. The other book I'm working on is Swing, which is the exact opposite, which is a spinoff of Sunstone that Stephen Sage did, this sort of slice of life romance books. And I'm always shocked at how well those things do. And writing romance is really hard. I got to tell you, Billy, have you ever tried to write romance?
No.
It's hard, dude, because Sedgwick did this book called Sunstone, and it was a free web comic that he asked if we'd put it in print. And for years we said no. because it had like graphic adult content in it. And I kept saying, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. And finally, he basically said, look, if you don't do it, I'm going to take it somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And so we put it out, and it became our best-selling graphic novel series of all time. I mean, we've sold well over 500,000 Sunstone Volume 1s.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it's an insane, and we're on volume 6 or 7, and we've done multiple spinoffs. And this book Swing that I'm doing, that I'm written, the second volume came out, third volume comes out in May. Far and away my best-selling books on the market right now, and the readers are all women.
Well, that's such a huge untapped audience, you know. I mean, it is, and they want good content out there.
Yeah,
Steppen's unbelievable. He's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, Chad says, you know, hello Hawkins, the clock is your best work yet. Great job.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's a very personal project, and I've put a lot into it, so I appreciate that.
You know, Matt, what I learned, and this is just my opinion, I want to put it out there, but my wife had breast cancer, and she went through, I mean, it was horrible, as you would. I wouldn't wish cancer on my worst enemy. But one of the distressing things is we started to do all the walks and, you know, join all the things and all the events and try to raise money for stuff. But I got to tell you, when I walked out, and I'm a cynic, you know, in a way when it comes to that, but I think with all the science in the world, with all the money that these governments have, all this stuff, I really think with the pharmaceutical companies and the power of big pharma I think there's far more money in treating cancer than curing it. I hate
That's
to say
probably true.
It's just, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just, you know, and you see some things that they've learned to isolate certain forms of cancer and be able to help. And again, like you said, breast cancer, the mortality rate has gone way down. Thank God.
Yeah.
But it just felt that way. It was all raise money, and we want to raise awareness. You know, never raise awareness. Let's raise cash and let's cure this thing. You know, I mean, that's
part of the problem with cancer is it's not really a thing. I mean, it's like a category. You know, I mean, the people don't understand cancer. Like, to me, I think of cancer. To me, it's like calling it's calling something a car. You know what I mean? Because there are hundreds of versions of cancer that are all unique and different. And immunotherapists are using genotyping now to find out specific cancers, because there are the really expensive way to cure cancer these days is that everybody's cancer is unique. It's unique in your own body based on your own DNA and your body chemistry. And so based on that, if you can study it and analyze it, you can actually figure out how to address it. And that's why so many cancers are going into remission. So in a way, we have not cured cancer, but we have figured out a way to beat it. And almost all of the, what is it, ALS, acute lymphocytic leukemia, is one of the deadliest diseases out there. And I think Dexter Vines, I saw he was fighting blood cancer and raising money on GoFundMe. And I think that's what he has. I don't know for sure, but that is just a god-awful, painful, you know. And the thing is, the cures now, and this is where you're talking about pharmaceutical industry and the healthcare industry. You're absolutely right, because there are better ways to do it now, but they just don't want to do it because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, chemotherapy is god awful. I mean, you're just trying to kill the shit before it kills you.
Exactly. Yep. Sometimes the treatment gets you before the cancer does.
Yeah. No, that killed my uncle. He died doing chemotherapy. He died from chemotherapy, actually.
Yeah.
So
it happened to a friend of mine's mother as well.
Yeah. But the clock, Swing, a book that's part of the thing I mentioned that people will be happy about that hasn't been announced yet. I'm doing one of those, and I have I do a book called Think Tank, which I think is my favorite book I do. It's a very personal book. Honestly, it's really kind of about my father, who was a scientist in the military, you know, and designed weapons and did various things for the military and the Air Force. And I always grew up talking to him, and my dad was a Vietnam era guy, and his dad was a World War II era guy. So listening to them talk about their war experiences was very different, because, you know, my dad was very guarded and never spoke about anything. And my grandfather just would not shut the fuck up about how awesome it was to fight the Japanese, you know? And so it's fascinating to me to sort of watch through that. Like my older son is in the Navy. You know, he wants to train to be a Navy SEAL.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So, and I think he's going to make it. You know, I went down to San Diego, Coronado, and met with some of the people. And I'm like, do you think he really has a shot? And they're like, yeah, he can already pass the physical test. You know, so I'm like, I couldn't do that. So,
no thanks.
My younger son wants to be a writer like me, so that's good. That's something I understand, you know.
Yeah.
Being a Navy SEAL, I don't get.
Yeah, exactly.
So Matt, let me ask you now, would you ever consider doing your own crowdfunding book?
I have. I've done 4.
Oh, you have? Okay.
I did Golgotha, Fairway, and Symmetry. 3, but the 2 volumes of Symmetry. So what I've done, I see some of this, and this is one of the things I would actually like to talk to you guys about because I'm very curious. You know, Kickstarter to me and these crowdfunding platforms, they don't say they're there to give people that can't do it on their own this opportunity to do it. And one of the things that we've always gotten some crap about from independent people is like, you know, you're a big company, why are you doing this? And I'm like, well, we're doing it because it's another distribution avenue. It's not like we don't, and see, like, even if you look at the Witchblade, the hardcover, we've already solicited that through the direct market. It's available through Diamond in March, you know, and we're going to make it available through every other channel. It will be available through Comixology. The thing is with Kickstarter and these crowdfunding programs is you have an exclusive version, you have some extra merchandise, and there are people that like these crowdfunding campaigns. And I got to tell you, I've read multiple times the terms of services and various things of Indiegogo and Kickstarter, and never once have I ever seen that this is not for big companies. It's only for little guys who need it. And I'm all for the little guys who need it. And see, they have the advantage they can go on there and say, help me make my dream come true. Okay, I can't do that. I can't come on and say, pledge my campaign and help make my dream come true. I go on there, and Mark and I go on there, and we say, hey, we're doing this cool thing. It's kind of fun. We're going to offer some special shit. You know, you can buy it. You can do it. If you want to do it, great. If you don't have the money right now, buy it from Diamond, buy it from Barnes & Noble a year from now, buy it from our Top Cow store. To me, I look at these things as avenues of distribution. And there is an interesting connection with people on Kickstarter where they feel like they're part of it. And I really like that, you know, and Top Cow is not some giant monolithic company. I mean, we've got 5 employees, you know what I mean? We work with about 20 or 30 artists around the world. You know, it's not some General Motors type company, you know, and Image Comics itself, I mean, there's 20, 30 people there. You know, it's not like, again, I mean, how many people work for Marvel? I mean, thousands.
Yeah,
you know, and we're small, you know, and it's frustrating to me that people get angry about that. And I think part of it is, I think there's this belief that there's only so many dollars on there that's getting soaked up. But if we always look at our Kickstarter numbers, and most of our Kickstarter buyers, they come from our channels. You know what I mean? They're not coming from Kickstarter. They're coming from my Facebook, or they're coming from Mark's Twitter feed, you know, or they're coming, and because they give you those numbers and you look at that and you're like looking at the data. But to me, you know, crowdfunding is just another way to mitigate your risk. You know, you get out there, you put the content out, and you try different things, and you see what works, you see what doesn't work, and you know, you support the people that do it. And you know, we used to, if you look at a lot of our earlier campaigns, we used to do stuff where we would include like, hey, have lunch with Mark and Matt, or hey, have a sit down portfolio review with Mark, or hey, Matt will edit your script. We've stopped all that because we want to make it a regular sort of business thing. And when you continue to do special stuff like that, it kind of becomes difficult and weighs it down. So like, if you look at the Witchblade, all it is it's the content, it's the book, it's what's available. And the Witchblade series, honestly, I did Postal before. Like, Postal was just a few months ago. We did the same exact campaign, and we're going to replicate it with The Darkness. We'll do the same thing next year. 25th anniversary of The Darkness will be next year, and I can guarantee you we're going to be doing Volume 1, and hopefully a year from now, Mark and I'll be back on your show because he created The Darkness too.
Anytime you want to come on, Mark, even with your own books, you know what I mean?
Right on.
With your own stuff, absolutely. Well, the thing is, too, is that you're doing it right because you're looking at it like a business, and it is a business. That's what it is. This is business. You're putting your time, and we've had this discussion before right now with our guests and stuff. What people also, some people don't understand, a lot of people are, like we have Mandy Summers. Now, Mandy Summers is one of those people that she had a story that she told her daughter. She would tell it before, you know, a bedtime story, this adventure she created, and then she said, you know what, I want to make a comic book out of it. And she put this book together, and she started to do this crowdfunding campaign, and she literally turned that into a full-time job of, you know, not only being a mom, but also now being a comic publisher. But the big thing, too, that a lot of people don't understand, and Matt, now, right now, here we are, it's 10 o'clock on the East Coast. You're already at 7 o'clock your time, is that the marketing part of it, too, is like a full-time job.
Yeah.
The marketing's a full-time job. The publishing aspect of it's a full-time job. Putting the art direction. And like you said, you guys have 4 or 5. You have 5 employees at Top Cow. You guys are doing multiple jobs.
Right.
So you have to look at it like this is a business. The people, I want to get this book out there to people. And what's cool is that you have this fan base that will follow you and want something, that little extra thing, because they can only get it there.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, and you make a good point in that marketing, because I look at you and I look at Brian Polito and I look at Mark and I look at myself. And what's the similarity between us all? We're all friendly guys that talk to people. You know what I mean? I mean, we go out and like, I can't tell you how often I walk through Artist Alley and people are looking down at their phones or they're not paying attention. And, you know, I'm a 50-year-old guy now. So when I do these conventions, they kill me at the end of the day. I'm tired. I'm not going out partying anymore. I'm going to bed. But, you know, you stand for 6 or 7 or 8 hours and you talk to people and you have to be up and talk like I'm talking to you now, like excited about your content. Because if you're not excited, how can you expect anyone else to be, you know?
Right.
And that's I don't know that that's a learnable skill. I wonder if it's a learnable skill because I've always kind of innately had that, what is that, type A personality? You know, like
yeah, but you're also a nice guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Debatable. Ask me one of my ex-wives.
Easy at talking, you know?
And I know you didn't read comics, but you love this industry. And
I do love this industry now.
Very gregarious. Like I said, you came up to us. We met you. You know, I didn't know who you were.
Right.
You know, I didn't, you know, and you didn't know why, but I knew that you were part of, you know, Extreme Studios, you with Rob Liefeld. And you just, again, you walk around Artist Alley, you say hello to people. You're one of the few people that do it. But I've also seen you when you had your table at New York Comic Con and we were talking and people come up to you. And every person that comes at you, you stop, you give them their time, you look them in the eye, you shake their hand, you thank them, and you make them feel important because you realize these people change your life.
Well, and that's the thing is that I you know, there's a connection you make with these people that are your fans or your readers or whatever they are. And I made the conscious decision about a decade ago that I was not going to go after the collector dollar as much as the reader dollar for my personal projects. And the reason being is because if you make a personal connection with someone, they read your book and they like it and they like you, you got a fan for life. You know, the problem with collectible money is that's so fickle. You know, I mean, when I started at Top Cow owned the collectible market. You know, they owned it, everything, you know, I mean, and I've seen that roller coaster ride go up and down in terms of stuff and valuation and stuff like that. But no, it's just when you make that connection and you talk to someone and see, one of the things I always tell people at conventions is talk to people, because if you're talking to someone and someone else comes over, they'll listen, you know, and you know, I'll tell you a little trick that I do at conventions is I always make sure I have at least one person with me. And whenever the table is slow, I'll make the other person go around to the other side and talk to me from the other side. No, I'm serious, because then people will stop by. And because if you're both on your side of the table, then they realize that, like, because people always want to know what are other people interested in. Everyone always goes to the crowd. Everyone always walks up to the thing. And if you're just a guy standing there like looking and you got nothing going on, you know, fake it until you make it.
Yep. And again, like you said, and I've seen it too. You'll have, you know, guys at Artist Alley behind their tables, and like you said, they'll have their phones on. You know, I mean, they have their headphones on, and maybe they're just sketching, or they're on their phones, or they're just talking to the person next to them, as opposed to engaging with the people out there. And I mean, it's a business. You got to sell yourself too.
Yeah,
exactly.
I can't tell you how often I've been at conventions, and I do about 18 cons a year now, because that's where I make so much of my money. And all the time I'm at these shows, and some of them are smaller shows. Like I'm at GalaxyCon in Richmond, Virginia in 2 weeks, and I was at a show about that size a couple of years ago, and the 7 or 8 guys that were around me were all bitching about what a shitty show it was, and I'm like, I'm having a great show.
Yeah.
You know, and I even try to, because the thing is, to me, it's not a zero-sum game. I don't think if I'm going to win because they lose. I actually try to help the people around me. I'm like, dude, stand up. You know, the problem is if you sit down and you're looking down, no one's going to approach you. If you're standing and you're smiling, people are like, oh, hey, this looks like a fun guy to talk to. I'll talk to him for a second.
Yeah.
Well, you're helping that. Again, you go back to like that personal experience, you know. You go up, you're engaging. It's like, oh wow, you know, it's almost like, hey, I just chatted with my buddy for 5 minutes or something, you know, and it helps the book, you know. I see it when we do conventions. I mean, people come up to Billy and it's like, you know, your buddy that you haven't seen in 5 years is here, you know, and you know, it's great though. But it's that pure, natural, good-natured personalities you guys have that, you know, it brings the people coming in. You know, and it's natural. That's not learned. That's not a learned skill.
Yeah,
that's just a natural salesmanship, just a good person.
When you're enthusiastic about your projects, enthusiasm's contagious.
Oh, it really, really is. And that's why I always tell people, like, you got to know how to pitch your stuff. I mean, you know, you have to be able to pitch the stuff quickly too. You know, like you got to do the 10-second pitch. You got to do the 20 or 30, you know. And the thing is, the longer the person stands there, and the other little sales tricks I always learn is put the book in their hands. You know, that's one of the things they teach you in sales is you give them the book, have them flip through it while you're talking, because if they have something in their hands, they have to make the physical conscious choice to give it back to you. You know, and that's like it's the reverse of the decision where, you know, like Amazon learned this a long time ago. The fewer times you have to click, the more likely you are to buy. That's why they have the buy it nows on eBay and the whatever it is on Amazon where you one click, you know, you buy it, because they would have this all the time where they would study this research where you would click and, you know, and then people would not click the final click, you know, because you're giving someone another decision. So you want to give people fewer decisions to make. You know, a lot of this is impulse buys, you know, so fewer decisions is better.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we had Rockbiter, and this is not the first one. Rockbiter came on and said, will, I guess another person asking for you to put the Witchblade collected edition on Indiegogo because they just don't shop Kickstarter. And we've learned that over the almost 100 shows, right, Nile? I mean, there are people that are just buy from Indiegogo, and there are people for one reason or another that will just buy from Kickstarter. So you have Target customers and you have Kmart customers.
So you know what, this is a legal thing I need to look into, because we've actually been told that it's against the terms of services to do that. So that's one of the things where I need to figure that out, and that's the reason why we have not done it. Because you told me that in New York, and remember I told you, I said I think that's against their terms of services, and so my thing is, obviously you've done it. I looked at your 2 sheet campaigns. I saw that the Indiegogo raised 676 and the other one raised 74 or whatever it was. And I'm like, I'm jealous of that, because that's just, you're just doubling your money. That's fucking great. You know? And I would absolutely love to do that. So that's a legal question for me to see if that we can actually do that.
Well, you can roll. You can actually roll it though, Billy. Remember, you can Kickstarter links to Indiegogo.
You can end the Kickstarter, and then you could put a link onto the Kickstarter for the Indiegogo, you know, to go to the Indiegogo page, and they allow you to do that. That's what we have now. And another cool thing is what's really important is the updates. Send your updates to all your Kickstarter backers, even though the campaign ends. And hey, for a second chance, if you guys like, the book is now live in Indiegogo. And maybe a special perk. Maybe there's an Indiegogo dust jacket, or you just call it a crowdfunding dust jacket, or your dust jacket has a Kickstarter and Indiegogo logo on it. You know, maybe you give it one little extra thing that could bring all those Kickstarter backers who want to get this other special thing.
Well, you do like a dust jacket or a variant cover. You know those. Everyone does those. They're easy to do. You do full stamp, whatever it is, to give it sort of that exclusivity. So look, if we can do it, we will. And I know that you're already doing it. That does, you know. So I am actively looking into it.
There you go.
Well, there you go.
Do you use BackerKit? Do you use BackerKit, Billy?
No, we don't. The reason why we don't use BackerKit, I think we might have used it on Zombie Sama, is because it either only works for one, for like Kickstarter. So it's like, because we have the Indiegogo, we're doing the double the work.
Right.
My wife can explain it better, but we don't need to do it, and she's doing it all. And it's amazing that we didn't publish for 10 years, you know, and then we just got back into it. We just picked it up. Again, it's, you know what it's like. It's daunting. It's new getting back into it. But once you do, you start really getting, you know, back into it.
I have to ask, I see this comment by Rockbiter, political commissars on KS will not get my money. I'm like, what does that even mean?
No, he's not talking about you guys and your project. He's talking about Kickstarter, because they've pulled people's books for political reasons, I guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's why that's why you got people who support Indiegogo, where, you know, the CEO's like, we won't pull your product.
I get it. Okay.
Where Kickstarter pulled the product for one of the creators. So
yeah, I generally go out of my way to try to not be political. I want to sell to everyone.
Yeah, because
exactly. Who cares? Really, who cares about your political?
Everyone's money spends the same way.
That's right. Yeah.
That's it. Just all about good books, and, you know, taking a good 15, 20 minutes to read a comic, you know, indulge in it, escape for a little bit, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
I don't need to know what you believe in. I just need to buy your good books.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's said, we might just be doing
yeah,
for the next campaign we're seriously looking at doing Indiegogo for it.
Cool.
Because it's a lot of work too, Matt. You'll see when you do the other campaign, it's a lot of work. It's it's like double the work, not quite double the work, but it's still a lot of work because you're starting all over again.
Right.
And it takes away a lot of time, a lot of resources. And like I said, my wife is going on vacation with her girlfriends, her college roommates, and she deserves it. She's going away for a couple of days. Like, I'm going with the girl. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. You deserve it. You earned it. Go ahead. See ya. Enjoy.
Cool. Very cool.
She does all that. So.
Right.
Yeah. But you just got to test the waters. That's all. That's what you could do. But one thing I'm learning too is you kind of stick where your audience is growing. Stick where your audience is growing, especially if you're getting good numbers like Polito, But he went in and, he threw something, but he went in with, expectations of you have to start from zero, when you go into a whole different audience. But
well, that's where like crowdfunding and conventions has been our largest growth. I mean, the 32-page books in the direct market has been a tremendous decline over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Not just our books, the industry's books, and it's everything is changing. So it's hard to navigate, and that's one of the reasons why when people are asking me like, well, why are you on Kickstarter? I'm like, well, why wouldn't I be on Kickstarter? And that's like when you say, Billy, when you said, why aren't you on Indiegogo too? I'm like, well, can we be? That's the question I ask. And like, I like, of course, we look at this as just another distribution outlet. And, you never know where someone's going to find your content, where they're going to make that connection with you. And like I said, our growth has all been cons. It's all been our Top Cow store. It's all been this kind of stuff. The digital sales are kind of flat. The direct market sales have continued to decline, and so you go where your revenue is.
Yeah. And just try it because you'll never make everyone happy. Someone will be like, oh, hey, we're just another distribution outlet for you. It's like, yes, that's the point of these websites.
Yeah.
It's a distribution outlet. So the people you're backing that you think, you're part of this, all this amazing stuff, you are, but at the same point, this is their online store.
Yeah.
That's the point of
the thing
it.
is we've done this is our 9th campaign and we've never not shipped our stuff. I mean, everything has gotten to everyone and we've taken care of everything, and I think that matters. My ex-wife used to buy all kinds of tech Kickstarters, headphones, and all kinds of crazy shit. And she used to complain to me all the time about, she'd only get like 1 out of 2 of the things she bought. And my thing to her is like, well, why do you keep buying them?
Yeah. I have a Kickstarter that I supported 4 or 5 years ago now.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And I don't know if I'll ever see that $50 again,
Yeah, I've got like 3 of them I haven't seen. I don't even know. I haven't even got my money back or anything. It's crazy. Yeah. I got to go back and look at it. It's been that long, like literally like 4 or 5 years.
There was one from that guy that made me laugh that burned the books. Do you remember that one? It was a comic guy and he burned them because he was mad. It was, I don't remember which one. It was 4 or 5 years ago.
I see that one.
I don't know anything about that.
Really?
I'll have to look into
you
that
should
one.
Google that. Guy burns his Kickstarter pledge and doesn't fulfill it. It was 4 or 5 years ago. This guy got really angry. It was a comic, an indie comic, and he literally had all the printed comics and he threw them in this ditch and burned them.
What?
And basically posted a video like, screw all y'all.
Dude, we got to get that guy on, Scala.
Frank's looking it up. Frank's looking it up. Want to make sure I don't get any copyright strikes.
It was a few years ago. Because I remember seeing the video and I just started laughing because I'm like, because of course the guy's done. I mean, he can't do another book because. But it's funny when that kind of stuff happens. At least to me, because like I feel like when someone gives us their money, I feel honor bound and obligated to give them the product they want.
Yeah.
And even like sometimes we'll get people bitch about bent corners and stuff like that, and I'm like, we'll replace it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but it's cool though. It's cool having Top Cow in the scene.
It really
it's cool
is.
that you guys do it because like people are gonna can say, oh, it's a big publisher, and well, there's bigger out there, right? There's much bigger out there, and the roots of where all of you guys came from is you were doing it before you had Kickstarter, before you had Indiegogo. All you guys were doing it, Billy included. You're doing it before you had anything. It was literally the Wild West. You're just trying to figure out what the hell do we do. You're literally going against 2 of the giants, right?
Yeah.
And conquering. So I mean, you know, to come now into, you know, the new millennium, now into the 20, you know, we're hitting 2020, you know, it's about time you guys start getting face in here and showing, because it helps solidify this medium. Because you know what you guys are doing is you guys are you know, you are inspiring the people. You know, that's what us younger creators, we look up to you guys because we grew up reading your books. And for you guys to come in, it's basically saying what you guys are doing is right. You know, you can still try to get in the traditional way, but what you are doing works. We are here. You know, and that's how it has to be seen. It's not a negative thing by any means. It's a very positive.
Yeah, I don't. And that's it's just a lot of negativity from certain people, and it's always. And I've everyone that's ever given me shit on Twitter about us running a Kickstarter, I've always tracked them back to that they ran a failed Kickstarter. You know, and like I'm like, oh, okay, and your failed Kickstarter is my fault. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, and you know, a lot of Kickstarters, you know, a lot of people are going out there with little resources, you know, and they're trying to make a dream happen. So I give kudos to any creator, and any creator that contacts us, you know, we go above and beyond to try to get them on here. You know.
No, and I try to help people too, and it's just amazing how bitter and angry so many people are out there. You know, I can't live life that way.
Yeah, no, not at all.
They go out of their way, you know, to cause problems. And it's like, are you serious, man?
So Matt, what conventions will you be attending for any of the viewers out there that would like to meet you?
I'll be at Emerald City Comic Con next month. I'll be at GalaxyCon in Richmond, Virginia next month. I will be at the Anchorage Con in Alaska next month. Those are 3 months next month. I've never been to Alaska. It's one of the 4 states I've never been to. And so that's a nice thing. I have a marketing guy, and I said, hey, I've never been to these 4 states. Find me a con in them just so I can check them off of the box. So I'm going to Alaska next month. Then I'll be doing, of course, San Diego, New York. I'm doing Orlando MegaCon. I'm doing Boston. I'll be doing, I do all of the Fan Expo shows. Dallas, Houston, Comicpalooza, Toronto. I'm doing the Singapore Con in December. That's the one international one I'm doing this year. I was just at a convention in Chile last month in Santiago, which was really cool, actually. The one nice thing about Image and Top Cow is that most of the books I write get published in like 27 different languages. So I get a lot of free trips around the world.
There you go.
That's nice. Alaska, though. That's you know, I was looking at that. I saw a couple other creators going to Alaska for conventions.
Is that
it's like the only show? What's that?
Brett Carreras, who puts on the Virginia, the Richmond Con. Is that his show in Alaska?
I think so.
Yeah, he's
I'm not sure. Henry's the one. If you want, Billy, I can hook you up with Henry. He's the guy that does all my shows for me, and he puts all that stuff together. Because I basically always say, look, you know, you fly me out, you put me up, give me a free booth, I'm there.
Yeah, there you go, buddy. I hear that. Yeah. Well, all right, Scala. I don't know. I mean, we've had him on for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I just want to jump over to the Kickstarter so we can just, you know, look at the campaign where they're at. TJ James had he's posting this question for a second time. So it says, at Crowdfunding Comics, does Matt see a drift towards more one and done OGN type projects than the floppies and trades model?
Yes, that is absolutely the direction the industry is going. I mean, that is unquestionable, especially for independent comics. And I know people don't look at Top Cow and Image Comics as being indies, but we've always kind of felt that, even though we've had success, because we've never had like anything really handed to us like Marvel and DC were, you know. So most of the books I write with the original graphic novel sort of theory in mind, you know. I've done a lot of those, and they've done well. It's just, the thing is, there's also a massive shift. Excuse me, a shift in readership from men to women. I mean, you look at the reader statistics in graphic novels, a lot of them are women, and the women readers, when polled and discussed, they don't read like the serialization versions. They want the complete story. And that happens more and more often. I think it's why you see so many first issues of miniseries that do well, and then the other ones fall off the face of the earth. It's because people pick up the first issue and seeing if they want to read the trade or not. You know, and that's kind of how that happens. Which is why I've done projects where, like on Golgotha, which I did a few years ago, which is an original graphic novel science fiction thing. I did publish the first issue as a 32-page comic, but that was it. I didn't publish the rest of the story. I just put the trade out 4 months later. And the reason I did that is because I knew that sort of worked. And you know, you see where it goes. We always experiment with different things to try to see what works and what doesn't work. and and then we replicate what works.
Nice.
Smart.
It is smart. So yeah, let's just jump in real quick here, and we'll check out the campaign. So right now you have 18 days left. You have 648 backers, and you guys are just over $51,000. So as you guys can see, I mean, it's Witchblade. I mean, this is phenomenal. If you're new to the story, this is going to start you right off from issue 1. As you said, Matt, you're talking over 600 pages,
right,
in this book. And how many issues does that amount to? In the book,
I think it's 24 issues.
24 issues, and then so far you guys have so you've unlocked all of your stretch goals. You're up to your approaching the 60,000 stretch goal, which is going to be the Witchblade #1 25th anniversary Kickstarter cover.
Right,
and this is a reprint of the original #1, correct?
Right, correct.
It's fantastic.
And and some of that stuff, like the merch, like one of the things I did was stretch goals. I don't know how you feel about that, Billy, but I did stretch goals where we talked about it. Was some of it was free stuff. You unlock the little tier, and then you get this free mini print, or you get whatever. Then other things were like you unlock it, and you have the ability to buy stuff, but it's a little cheaper. Like if you look at the 400 backer level right there,
yep,
that's can't even read that, but it says Witchblade keychain, for $5 and $15, And the thing is, when you make small quantities of things like jewelry or pens or stuff like that, they're really expensive to make. So what we did in situations like that is we allowed people the opportunity to buy these things, but essentially at cost.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I love the stretch goals, but I haven't done anything like that about actually lowering the prices. That's the great idea.
It is because I mean, we wanted to do some cooler stuff as stretch goals, but we didn't want to have to, if you start doing too much stuff, then you realize you spend all the money you made, and then what's the point in the first place,
Yeah.
But we're just trying different things, and Billy, you and Brian, I've told Brian Pluto this many times. I always look at what you guys do because I always steal your ideas. So thank you.
That's the best way to do it.
Everyone steals
Brian even says that. Hey, you want to learn to do it? Just follow what we do.
Yeah.
So fantastic. So everyone, if you haven't backed this book, if you want to learn about Witchblade, or if you want to get back into it and you want such a unique collector piece, you want it signed by Mark Silvestri, head on over to Kickstarter, back this book. I'm backer 21. I'm very proud of it. Billy's backer 1.
Backer #1, man. Well, I'm on the set a list. When I see the list come out, what to do,
Fire away, man. There you go.
We'll give you an extra bold font.
Yeah,
there you go.
I get a cookie for being #1.
And we know funds can be tight at times, guys. So if you can, always share. Even if it's something you may not want to back personally, or whatever you want to do, you don't have the funds, or hey, you've already done it. Make sure to just share it. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Instagram. Help move this forward, because believe it or not, having Top Cow and stuff supporting crowdfunding and being in things, they start doing more. It doesn't take away from you guys as creators or as fans. It helps solidify this medium, this distribution outlet. Okay. Absolutely. Where this is the comic book market, where it's personal, you're backing what you want the way you want it. So, continue supporting this because that's what this allows for. So again, Matt, thank you so much. We usually do a crowdfunding call out. I don't know if you want to be a part of that. If you have to get going, you can get going. Otherwise, we do have a comic book that I discovered and a creator that I discovered. And we're just going to give him a quick shout out. So what we do is we play their video, and then we just kind of go through their campaign really quick. It's a couple minutes.
Sure. Have to. Maybe I'll pledge.
There you go. So,
and Matt, we couldn't have asked for better guests for our 99th episode.
I know.
Thanks, man,
for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much.
I'm glad Mark was on. He doesn't, like I said, he doesn't do a lot of this stuff. So I was actually, when he told me he would come on, I was a little worried that he wouldn't. I was very happy that he came on and he stayed on as long as he did, because he's like, oh, I'll call in for like a minute or two, and I'm like, okay.
I was surprised. 32 minutes. He was on for 32 minutes. I was like, 32. This is pretty good.
Yeah, right on.
So we'll ask him again. He's like, come on, guys. I was on 32 minutes last time.
Hey, you never know. We're growing, Bill. We're growing. We're going to be the top channel, man. I'm telling you.
Maybe we should go on a diet.
We're going on a diet, man. But so I was going through, and every few days I go through Kickstarter, I go through Indiegogo to find certain, different books, things that really kind of stand out. And I found Metal Shade issue 1 from Isaac Bell. I went through this campaign. I watched the video, fell in love with the art, the style. the story. And I immediately went to Facebook, like, I got to find this guy. I got to get a hold of this guy because I couldn't message him on Kickstarter. Got a hold of him. We got him booked. So I'm going to play the video for everyone. This is Metal Shade issue 1 of Violent Black Magic Strike Force.
Big Jim Lee fan.
All right, there you guys have it.
Awesome.
It looks great, yeah. And I've been looking at his work, and I've been following his stuff on Instagram and Facebook. It's a cool, it's kind of a paranormal type superhero team. And yeah, so the creator is Isaac Bell. You can follow him on Facebook. You can follow his art page on Facebook, on Instagram. Yeah, I know I fucked up. I had the screen muted. And I turned it on like midway. I'm just looking at the comments. But yeah, anyway, if you guys can check it out, great art, great story. He'll be on the show next week. We'll get him on the episode right after our 100th. And we'll have him on to talk about this book.
Awesome.
So there you guys have it. All right, gentlemen.
Great job.
Yeah, Matt, thanks.
You're awesome, bro.
Well, thanks, guys.
Right now, you want to tell them you're on, and you're always part of it.
Whenever you want to come on, whenever we have a guest on, we tell you, you're part of the Crowdfunding Comics family. If we have a guest on, you see any of our posts on Twitter or Facebook, and you're like, oh, I really like that guy, I'd love to join that. Let us know. And sometimes too, I don't know if you're up for it. If Billy can't make a show, sometimes I reach out to past guests and say, hey, I got this person on. Here's their information. Would you like to join me as a host of the show? But you guys are always welcome on. If you got any projects coming on. Doesn't even have to be crowdfunding. If you guys end up having, if Top Cow has a new book coming out, new characters, or a refresh of a series, and you want to promote it, just let us know, and we're happy to plug it through our channels.
Well, that sounds good. We're always launching something, so I'll be on every week.
There you go.
Right, there you go.
You're a great guest. All right,
the Hawkins half hour, talking the latest from Top Cow.
I'm actually going to get some wine. I'm going to open a bottle of wine. I've been sick for 2 weeks almost, so I'm going to go now. Get a drink.
Sounds good.
Everyone's saying thanks for coming on. All right, gentlemen, we appreciate it. And everyone, we will be back next week, Tuesday, with our 100th episode.
And
that's so cool. I'll be tuned in.
If I may, guys, I'm getting a lot of PMs and DMs that I just see them because I get a lot through Twitter and stuff asking me when to come on the show. Don't ask me. Please email crowdfundingcomics@gmail.com and talk to Frank Amazing. Because he'll set up. I just mess these things up. So if anyone wants to get on, it's crowdfundingcomics@gmail.com. If you guys want to get on you have a new project you want to share, don't email me because I see them and then I pass them along, or I forget and I just screw them up.
Yeah, DM Crowdfunding Comics on Twitter, or if you're on Facebook, just message me directly.
There you go. All right, guys. Thanks a million.
Me and Frank actually run the show.
You guys are going to hit 100 grand with this. I know you will. And seriously, look at the Indiegogo once this campaign ends.
Yeah, like I said, I'm in the legal discussion. We'll see.
And I'll let Debbie get in touch. Debbie will email you too if you have any questions. I'll give you her email and she'll give you the scoop on all that stuff.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Beautiful.
Good night,
guys. All right, guys. Have a great night, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Matt.
Bye.
Good night, everyone. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell, you may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.